Hi everyone, welcome to ROBOTOBZOR. In this video I wanna make a competitive test of the robot vacuum cleaners 2021 models. We will review flagship from well-known brands such as Roborock S7, Ecovacs Deebot OZMO T9 AIVI Plus, Xiaomi Mijia Vacuum Cleaner Pro, Dreame Bot Z10 Pro, Viomi Alpha UV, Roidmi Eve Plus and Proscenic M8 Pro. We'll compare the quality of cleaning as well as the other important parameters. And based on that, we'll figure out which of the robot vacuum cleaners is the best in 2021, considering the test results and final assessment. The video description contains links to a detailed review of each robot vacuum cleaner, as well as the links to purchase in verified stores. Like this video and subscribe to the channel updates. So, let's go! To make the final objective opinion, I will compare the following parameters. Amount of the collected sand scattering in the same amount on the tile. Amount of collected sand scattering in the same amount on the carpet. The quality of waste collection of different structure on the laminate. The quality of rubbish collection of different structure on the carpet. The suction power or the maximum depth at which the robot vacuum cleaner is able to suck out debris. The quality of wiping off dirt. Avoiding obstacles on the floor. Passage of dark surfaces. Passage of seals. Noise level. Self-cleaning quality. In addition, let us compare the design features of the robots, their characteristics, functionality and the price. After this review, you'll find a table with all related data, where you can conveniently compare the results and choose the best option for yourself, for your own conditions and budget. I will also try to determine the winners and rank the flagship from best to worst, giving points for each stage of the comparison. If you disagree with the number of points, write in the comments what marks you would to put in each of the tests. And what, in your opinion, the final results should look like. Let's start with the most revealing tests. The first is how much sand each of the robot vacuum cleaners can collect from the tile. The complexity of this test also lies in the fact that part of the sand gets into the seams between the tiles. So here not only the operation of the brush and navigation, but also the suction power affects the cleaning quality. The sand was scattered in the same amount, 200 grams over the entry area. Each of the robot vacuum cleaners was launched in a double pass mode of the entry available area. After each test, I vacuumed the floor by hand to keep the starting condition as similar as possible for each model. Here are the results. Roborock managed to collect completely all the sands on the floor, and even more than crumbled. It looks like there is still an insignificant part on the floor that could not be visually detected during preparation for the test. In this comparative test, clearly Roborock is a leader. Ecovacs didn't perform as good as Roborock and Mijia, because during the second pass he moved along the same trajectory, and not in a perpendicular snake moves like all the other participants in the comparison. Most likely this is what influenced the result, as some sand remained in the joints between the tiles. A strange situation happened with Dreame. For some reason the quality of sand collection on the tiled floor in this model is extremely low. The first estimates will be as follows. A similar test was carried out on the carpet. 200 grams of sand was scattered over the entry area before each launch. After each test, the carpet was cleaned with a powerful wireless vacuum cleaner. It is clear that all the sand cannot be collected, but at least visually there were no grains of sand on it. Here are the results. And we see that in this comparison Ecovacs here overtook the main competitor, Roborock, and showed a slightly better result, for which he received 2 points, while Roborock and Dreame earned 1.5 points each. Viomi followed them with 1 point, and after that all the other robots showed an equally low result. They get a half point. As for the standard laminate tests that are performed during reviews, it is important to know that all compared robot vacuums are good at picking up wool, hair, dust, cat food, litter and other type of debris. I can only highlight a few features. The first is that Ecovacs, Roidmi, Viomi and Proscenic are slightly better at sweeping debris from the corners. For this I will give them 1 more point. And secondly, Roborock and Ecovacs, due to the fact that central brushes are made of silicone, are better cleaned of coiled hair and wool. It is a fact. And for this, robots will receive 1 additional point. The same rubbish was scattered on the carpet. And I wanna know that the improved quality of collection of rubbish of different structure on the carpet in all robot vacuum cleaners, except for Mijia. On carpets, this robot vacuum cleaner is showing low performance. During a separate review, there was also a small complaint against Roborock, that the previous central brush version performed better on carpets. But during the comparative test, Roborock is clearly competitive with analogies. Everyone except Mijia gets 2 points for carpet cleaning. Mijia gets 1 point in this comparison. The suction power is tested on bench with lots of different depths. Here are the results of the compared robot vacuum cleaners. We see that the most powerful robots are Roborock and Ecovacs. For this, they received 2 points. The Dreame has low suction power, but is it increased and it deserves at least 1 extra point. All other robot vacuum cleaners have the same standard suction power, and I see no reason to award them additional points within this test. As for the quality of wiping off dirt, Ecovacs in my opinion is equipped with the most effective design solution in the form of a vibration module, despite the fact that Roborock also declared ultrasonic vibration. In reality, it didn't show significant effectiveness when compared with the same Viomi, Mijia, Roidmi or Proscenic, which have a Y-shaped movement pattern in a wet cleaning mode. That's why in this comparison I give 1.5 points to Ecovacs and 1 point to everyone except Dreame. Dreame doesn't have advanced wet cleaning for more efficient wiping off of dirt. Speaking of the obstacle detection system, Mijia has implemented it best of all, for which this robot received an additional 2 points. It not only identifies most of the objects on the floor, but also recognizes them, displaying the corresponding icons on the map. There's artificial intelligence has been introduced, and the possibility that the robot will pinch a sock or wire during cleaning is reduced to a minimum. Dreame also has a 3D sensor-based object detection system, but it doesn't work very well, and there is a problem when working on carpets. The sensor detects the high pile as an obstacle, as a result of which the robot vacuum cleaner randomly moves on carpets. Ecovacs has an active camera and artificial intelligence installed, but at the moment the system needs to be improved, because the robot is not capable of recognizing all objects on the floor. But at least there is a chance that this problem will be fixed with the firmware update. All other robot vacuum cleaners are not able to detect objects lying on the floor in front of them, so they can easily get trapped by a sock or wire that wind up on a turbo brush and block the robot. Therefore, it is fair to add 1 point to Ecovacs and Dreame in this comparison. Robot vacuum cleaners have such problem as the fear of dark coatings. Obstacle sensors can detect black surfaces as differences in height, causing the robot vacuum cleaner go back away from black tiles, carpets with black patterns, and other types of surfaces. So, out of all 7 compared robot vacuum cleaners, only Roidmi and Mijia are not afraid of dark coatings. For this, it is fair to add 1 more point to each of them. Speaking of obstacle possibility, all robot vacuum cleaners without exception are capable of moving over 2 cm sills. So here it's a draw. But there is one remark to Ecovacs. During the tests it got stuck on the leg of the dryer and reported a mistake. All other robotic vacuum cleaners either moved over the legs without any problems, or they could still get out of the trap on their own. Therefore, here it is fair to remove 1 point from Ecovacs. Well, as for the noise level, I entered all the measurement results in a table. We can see that the noise level of all compared robot vacuum cleaners is approximately at the same level. Mijia is a little quieter at the maximum power, but at the same time it is not as powerful as Roborock, Ecovacs or Dreame. Still, I think it is fair to add half a point to it, in order to highlight the improved noise isolation compared to Viomi, Roidmi and Proscenic, considering that all these robots have approximately the same suction power. All except Mijia within this comparison are equipped with the self-cleaning stations. And in a separate video I compared this station in detail, or to be more precise, how well they unload garbage of different structure under the same conditions. In the video description you can find a link to a separate comparison. Now I will just briefly talk about the results in order to further evaluate them. Despite the fact that the station from iRobot won the comparison, Viomi, Dreame and Ecovacs still have more or less good self-cleaning quality. For this they get 3 points each. Because not only the quality of self-cleaning is evaluated, but also the presence of the station. The Roidmi station showed an average result, so it's rated at 2.5 points. The station at Roborock and Proscenic don't unload garbage very well, but you can value them at 1.5 points, only for their presence when compared with Mijia, which doesn't have a garbage unloading station. So the main parameters were compared, the indicators that maximize the quality of cleaning and the efficiency of robots. We see that Ecovacs is clearly leading, followed by Roborock, and then at about the same level all the other robot vacuum cleaners. Let's see how the picture changes after comparing additional parameters. To visually compare the characteristics of robot vacuum cleaners, I entered all the data in a table. Here is what happened. We see that the robot vacuum cleaners are about the same in terms of characteristics. Here I would definitely add 2 points to Roborock for the lifting mechanism of the napkin on the carpets. It is the one of all robots vacuum cleaners capable of vacuuming the entry available area, including carpets, in one pass, while simultaneously wiping the floor, leaving the carpets dry. This is a key feature of Roborock. I would also add 2 points to Ecovacs for the ability to remotely monitor the house from the smartphone. In my opinion, this is a very useful function that expands the capabilities of the robot. He can take part in the security system of the house. By connecting to the camera, you can check the condition of your apartment or house, if necessary. I would add 1 point to the Proscenic for the included remote control, as an alternative control option. Well, for the support of voice notifications in several languages, I would add 1 more point to Roidmi, Viomi, Dreame, Proscenic and Roborock. All other characteristics and functions were evaluated in comparative tests. Well, the last thing I would like to compare is the design features of robot vacuum cleaners. Ecovacs and Roidmi have 2 side brushes. This is insignificant, but it still improves the quality of cleaning. You can fairly add half a point to these 2 robots. All robot vacuum cleaners have lidars responsible for navigation, so they are the same in high hair. The central brushes of each of the robot vacuum cleaners can be disassembled to clean the coiled hair and fur. But as mentioned at the beginning, the Ecovacs and Roborock have better cleaning of silicone brushes, for which they already received additional points. On the one hand, you can still evaluate the presence of 2 rollers of the scrapers at Ecovacs, but on the other hand, their effectiveness was assessed in the tests. And for example, on a tile they showed not so much better than the same single roller of Roborock. Another important point that should be considered is the contact of the wet wipe with the floor after the end of the wet cleaning cycle. Roborock, Ecovacs, Dreame and Roidmi enter the station, and contact of the napkin with the floor is excluded. Moreover, if we consider Roborock without the self-cleaning station, the napkin rises automatically half a centimeter from the floor after cleaning is completed, and this is a plus. For Viomi, Mijia and Proscenic, the wet napkin will remain in contact with the floor until you remove it. This is not very good, and over time this contact can damage the floor covering. If, for example, the charging base is placed on the laminate. Therefore, the first 4 robots receive an additional points for being more gentle on the floor after the cleaning cycle is completed. And the last thing that is important to compare is the air filtration system in the dust collector. Ecovacs, Proscenic and Viomi have a triple filtration system based on HEPA, mesh and foam filters. For this, they receive an additional point. Dreame and Mijia have a dual filtration system based on strainer and HEPA filter. I'd have a point to them. Roborock and Roidmi have only a HEPA filter installed, and this is not very good. And now here is the final moment that I would like to compare: the support of the manufacturer and the availability of robot vacuum cleaner for purchase in local stores. So here is only Roborock is presented on AliExpress and in official distributors in different countries. Moreover, not only robot vacuum cleaner, but also consumables can be found without any problems already in different countries, even original ones. For this it gets an additional 2 points. The most difficult situation is with Ecovacs. At the time of preparing the comparison, the model is intended only for the Chinese market, so you cannot order this robot vacuum cleaner in local stores and distributors. You will have to order it on AliExpress or Alibaba and wait about a month for delivery from China. All repair issues are also resolved through the seller. Consumables will have to be ordered in the same way from China. This is not very convenient, but anyway, for me personally, not a big deal, considering how functional and efficient the robot is. With Proscenic and Mijia, the situation is almost similar to Ecovacs, but at least there is an option for express delivery. Viomi, Dreame and Roidmi can be sold both on AliExpress with express delivery option and in local online stores. And consumables for them are much easier to find, so I will add 1 more point to them. As a result, Roborock and Ecovacs got the highest score in this comparative test. They can be considered the best robot vacuum cleaners in 2021. Personally, I like Ecovacs more, but due to the weak support of the manufacturer and the not entirely correct working system of object recognition, I have to remove points from it, although it is definitely more constructively executed and functional. Roborock has strengthened such a napkin lifting mechanism and better manufacturer support. Here it is up to you to decide what is more important. The price difference is tangible. Ecovacs with a self-cleaning station will cost about $750–800, while Roborock with the base costs about $850. They are followed by Viomi, Roidmi and Dreame by a wide margin. Moreover, Viomi costs about $600–650. Dreame is a little less than $550–600, and Roidmi is about $400. Of these three robots vacuum cleaners, I would definitely choose Dreame, because it has higher power and has an object detection system. Also, comparing the build quality which we published earlier, it is clear that Dreame is definitely better built than Viomi and Roidmi. Despite the fact that in final score he has a half point less than its competitors, you can add a point to it only for assembly. Roidmi is on the middle without problems from the factory, but it is the most optimal in terms of price and functionality. Already with self-cleaning, this robot vacuum cleaner will cost $400. By the way, in terms of design, cleaning quality and functionality, Roidmi Eve Plus does not much differ from Viomi S9. In some ways, it's even better. Therefore, choosing between these two robots vacuum cleaner, I would choose Roidmi. Proscenic, in my opinion, does not draw out competition, but it can be interesting because it is equipped with the remote control as an alternative option for controlling the robot. If suddenly the price will be about $400 already with the base, it makes sense to pay attention to this option. But Mijia in this comparison is an obvious outsider, as loses both in the quality of cleaning and in the other parameters. Moreover, it doesn't have a self-cleaning station. But if you don't need it, if the floor is represented by the hard surfaces without carpets, and the function of recognizing objects on the floor is interested, you can also consider this option. The cost of the robot is in the range of $350–400. As a result, if I put it in a order from best robot to the worst, then it would look like this. I hope the prepared comparative test of the robot vacuum cleaners in 2021 was interesting for you and help you decide on the purchase. If you disagree with the conclusions on some review points, write in the comments. It will be interesting to hear your opinion and vision of the order in which the robot should be placed according to the test results. Subscribe to the channel and like this video. Happy tech shopping to everyone! Bye!